Welcome to Weekly Digest, where we highlight the work of ministers of government as they push the administration's development agenda. Picking up from where we left off last week. On Sunday last, Minister of Public Works Bishop One Edgell made it clear that government has no intention of closing any church and prevent citizens from worshipping, despite the rumors being circulated. Bishop Edgell was at the time visiting the Living Water Tabernacle Church in Essequibo during the final day of Cabinet outreach to Pomeroon Supernam Region 2. Minister Edgell said while persons are free to worship, they must adhere to the measures outlined by the government to prevent the spread of COVID-19. He urged persons to continue to protect themselves, their families and friends. Senior Minister in the Office of the President with responsibility for finance, Dr. Ashni Singh, wrapped up the final day of the Cabinet outreach to Region 2 with visits to several mandates. Dr. Singh, accompanied by other ministers, told attendees that the government values Guyana's diversity.
We should consider ourselves privileged in Guyana, that we are such a beautifully diverse country. Sometimes a lot of emphasis is made about differences amongst our peoples, but I see it really as a remarkable strength.
I want to say how privileged I feel being here this morning to say a few words at your mandir, particularly at this time when we are in the government under the leadership of Irfan Ali trying to re-energize our country, revitalize the communities, and my particular issue as Minister of Home Affairs to make the community safer so that we could achieve a more safe and secure future, not only for ourselves, but for the generations coming.
Devotees, I just want to say to you all, I remember when we had the last election and the 5 months that ensued, it was mental torture. It was something that we didn't ask for, but it was dealt out to us. And I know that you all stood through that period, although it was cut in your hands by holding the rope. But we held on and we proceeded and we succeeded.
We are servants of our people. And you must expect no less from us. You will always have our full support. You will always have our full attention in the most respectful way, and I think most importantly, in the most humble ways.
Later on Sunday, Minister Bishop Edgell commissioned $518 million in aviation equipment at the Cheddi Jagan International Airport. The new equipment includes a localizer which cost $200 million, a glide path or end-fire antenna for $282 million, and a precision approach path indicator for $36 million. The minister also commissioned the extended runway at CJIA.
I would like to declare the Cheddi Jagan International Extended Runway 06-24, its instrument landing system, and the air traffic surveillance service using ADSB in the lower airspace operational.
The new equipment will enable pilots to execute safer landing at the airport. Minister Edgell noted that the instrument landing system will also aid in alleviating the need for diversions of aircraft in unfavorable weather conditions. Cash crop farmers of Jack Harlow and Hackney, Lower Pomeroon River Region 2, who had been affected by recent floods, benefited from the government's flood relief cash grant initiative. The distribution exercise was led by Minister of Labour Joseph Hamilton, who was part of the government's cabinet outreach in the region at the weekend. During his interaction with the residents, Minister Hamilton said the flood relief grant forms part of the PPPC government's responsibility to safeguard the well-being of all citizens.
We are not doing any great favor to you. This is our responsibility. Understand that. Always understand that. Because some people call what we do handouts. We are not giving handouts. We are giving service to the Guyanese people.
Meanwhile, Minister Dr. Ashni Singh has charged farmers and residents of Region 2 to think bolder as the country prepares for massive transformation.
This is the moment for boldness. This is the moment for boldness in Ghana. For a long time, we have been doing things incrementally as a country. But if we are really to capitalize on the opportunities that we have, we need really to think and act in a bold manner right now.
Dr. Singh reminded the farmers at the Ghana Rice Producers Association in Anna Regina that the government is committed to removing the red tapes that hinder business development.
You have an opportunity to really catapult the agricultural sector to a completely different level. Larger scale cultivation, including where necessary through partnerships and joint ventures, including possibly through public-private partnerships.
COVID-19 vaccines pose no threat to pregnant women or their unborn babies. So says Minister of Health Dr. Frank Anthony, as he encouraged pregnant women to get their jab, since the benefits of receiving the vaccine outweighs any potential risk of contracting the coronavirus during pregnancy.
Consensus is that the vaccine does not harm pregnant women, does not harm the unborn child. There are millions and millions of persons who would have received the vaccine during pregnancy and it had no effect on the baby. So among the obstetricians globally, the advice is that you should get your vaccines during pregnancy. And the earlier you get it, you are going to be protected, because during pregnancy, women can become more vulnerable to COVID, and therefore these vaccines can be very, very protective.
Dr. Anthony also addressed the concerns of breastfeeding mothers.
For those breastfeeding mothers too, again, there's no contraindications that during breastfeeding that if you get the vaccine, it would harm the child. On the contrary, if you get the vaccine, you can produce antibodies, some of which would pass through the breast milk and would help to protect the baby. So it is better for you to get the vaccine if you're breastfeeding.
Meanwhile, Dr. Anthony said healthcare systems across the country will be reprioritized in order to treat severe cases of COVID-19. He made this statement in the wake of rising COVID-19 cases in the country.
We'll have to reprioritize, and maybe non-essential kinds of services, we'll have to close those and redeploy staff and resources to treat with the severe cases. So we have a number of contingencies in place, and we'll activate them as is necessary.
Minister of Education Priya Manik Chand says teachers can be assured of government's commitment to providing support. She was at the time speaking at the launch of the Teachers Welfare and Benefits Program at the Artichon Conference Center earlier on Wednesday.
Because my commitment here to you today is that we will support your professional development fully. You have my promise on that. We will hold your hand through any obstacles you believe you have in the classroom. We will try to fix very, very strategically and timely, not 4 years down the line. We will try to fix the resource deficit. This is a genuine interest in checking to see what we can do for you so that you could do your work when you get into the classroom. And you'll see much, much more of that.
The Ministry of Housing and Water's Central Housing and Planning Authority has commenced the construction of low-income houses and young professional houses in Prospect, East Bank, Demerara. Minister of Housing and Water Colin Crowell inspected the ongoing works on 50 of the 100 low-income homes in Prospect on Thursday.
This is the first batch here at Prospect. We expected that these will be completed by December. And we are excited about this because this is also an opportunity to provide for employment also for turnover and generation of income for a number of persons. And so sometimes people think all we do has to do with allocation, but this is also part of our fast-track mechanism for persons to own their own home through the mechanism that we have at the ministry.
Once the houses are completed, pre-qualified persons will be able to access their homes, Minister Kroll explained.
And the beneficiaries for this are the persons who will all pre-qualify. They come from within our system. They've indicated their interest in terms of the housing program, and we submit that information to the bank. The bank do their due diligence, and once they're pre-qualified, then they become part of the list for the beneficiaries for the houses.
Additionally, the foundations are currently being laid for 20 of the 200 young professional homes. The homes will consist of 3 bedrooms, with one self-contained room valued at $13.9 million, inclusive of the land valued at $1 million. There are also 2-story, 3-bedroom homes, which will cost $19.9 million. The Ministry of Culture, Youth and Sport will host its inaugural sports conference in October. This announcement on Thursday from Minister Charles Ramson Jr.
The objective of the sports conference is for two purposes. One is to flesh out and finalize the details and the consultation on our sports academy. Our sports academy is going to be launched 4 weeks after that. The second purpose of the sports conference is so that the sports associations can talk to each other. So it's going to be panel discussion driven.
The initiative forms part of the government's commitment to reshaping sports locally and ensure opportunities for all athletes in the country. The Ministry of Education on Friday morning launched its National Risk Management Policy for the education sector in Guyana. The policy aims to improve the risk management measures within the sector to mitigate the impact of future crises and ensure the continuity of education. The policy was developed in collaboration with heads of department along with representatives of the regional and district education offices and other technical partners. It outlines key programmatic areas and closely aligns with the ministry's strategic plan.
Minister of Public Works Bishop Juan Edgehill on Friday visited Dehoop and Dundee in Region 5, where he distributed the flood relief cash grant to farmers. The minister said the cash grant is not a compensation to farmers, but rather a relief following the countrywide flooding.
So President Ali and his cabinet fashioned and announced an initiative that will see the benefit, not compensation, but relief, to help everybody get back on their feet. Throughout the entire region, approximately $1 billion will go in direct support to help farmers to bounce back, to get themselves reorganized, to allow you to invest and get going again so we can move Guyana forward.
Meanwhile, farmers of Mortis, Karmat and surrounding communities in Region 5 also benefited from the government's flood relief cash grant. Minister of Natural Resources Vikram Bharat facilitated the distribution of over $233 million. Minister Bharat told the farmers their losses were witnessed firsthand by the government and assured them of the administration's continued support.
Today we know that the assistance that we're going to give to you is not to compensate you for all your losses. It is difficult to compensate you for all your losses because we know you lost a lot. We know you lose a lot. But today, we are assisting you as a government. We are assisting you to return to your, somewhat of a normal life. We are assisting you so that you can return to farming.
The Flood Relief Cash Grant is the government's way of supporting farmers who suffered losses in the recent national flooding disaster. Over $7 billion was set aside for this initiative.
Over 200 students from Region 3 graduated from the Board of Industrial Training's National Training Project for Youth Empowerment in Region 3.
The ceremony, held at the Lenora Technical and Vocational Training Center, saw graduates become certified in areas such as catering, cosmetology, child care, engine repairs, and information technology. Minister of Labor Joseph Hamilton expressed high hopes for continued development of the Board of Industrial Training for the benefit of Guyanese across the country.
No place is too far. No place must be left out of the opportunities and the facilities that BIT bring to this country. I can say to you, graduating students today, that for the first time in the history of Guyana, every region in this country, we have a Board of Industrial Training officer. Never happened before. And that is because we recognize the importance of what BIT must do.
That's it for this edition of Weekly Digest. For these and other government-related information, do log on to our website, dpi.gov.gy, and our social media platforms as well. Goodbye.